Hey, welcome to What's the Story? My name is Janice Hermson. I'm here with Ed Knoll, sitting out there in the beautiful outdoors in Ohio. Welcome,
It's
Ed.
gently raining, yes.
Gently raining. Oh, yeah. Well, you're nice and tanned from out being out there doing all that mowing, I guess, right?
Yeah, it's grass growing season here. I'm a tractor rider for sure. I do some mowing for my aunt and uncle own farm, and it's nearby, and they're getting old too, and I'm like the able body.
Wow, what a different life for you for right now. It's very
It it,
interesting.
it is fascinating. I likely need a mental health professional.
Is that what I'm seeing?
I hope
I
not.
I
I
told Ed when we were off air, I said that he looked like he had some resolve or something. I don't know what it was. You're emitting some strange vibes.
I don't doubt that at all, right? It's just a fascinating space I'm in. I don't know. You have upward surprises and downward surprises and
It's true.
inconsistency day to day and stuff. And I'm I like kind of order, and I'm living like
Disorder.
yeah.
Disorder.
It
Total.
it it, it can be challenging. So anyway, I'm coping.
Yeah, well, good for you. Good for you. So, we are going to have our guest, JJ Carroll, who's the author of Treason and Invaded, and he will be on in about, probably another 7 or 8 minutes. He'll be joining us. He had some commitments and couldn't come on right at the top of the hour, but we'll keep him on for as long as he's able and for as long as our show lasts for this first hour. And then I want to remind everybody, we're not going to do our word of the day right now, but I do want to remind everybody to go to Substack, and that's hermsen.substack.com. And my name is spelled with an E, not an O, HERMSEN.substack.com. And you can see what's going on, what we're going to be talking about every week. And then I occasionally do some series things and kind of share a little bit about what's happening. So anyhow, that's kind of what we're doing here. And then I also wanted to let me share my screen here. And I want to talk about, and this is in Reno, Nevada. This is Dig In to Grow Healthy. It's the Center for Healthy Aging. And I had a friend stop by today, and she said, this is an awesome place and an awesome thing, and they really need some volunteers. You can grow some food out there, I guess. I don't know everything about the program. I didn't have much time to prepare for this, but I thought I'd just let you know if you're in the Reno area and you don't know about it, maybe go to the website. Just search Center for Healthy Aging Reno and you'll find it. Says they're a community-oriented, culturally sensitive program that improves the exercise, nutritional support, mental health, and holistic care of Indigenous and non-Native older adult and youth communities. So, but primarily she was talking about the fact that they do some gardening out there, and as I say, they are looking for volunteers, gardeners, administration, bookkeeper, education and training, marketing, social media. They need it all. They need it all. Don't we all? We all need some help. I need some
Well,
help.
no doubt about that.
That's pretty funny. But
Where's
I
their
thought it was,
space? Where's their garden
eh,
space?
it's out there ways. Let me go back to it and see what the address is. Let's go to contact here. See where they are located. They're at 11 Fillmore Way. Do you know where that is?
No.
We're going to have to look that up. 11.
Yeah,
Didn't know
that.
I'd be doing this right now.
Yeah. Anyway, I was just curious
No,
because I
it's
know that.
north of town. I know it's north of
Okay.
town.
Okay.
And she said it was a ways because she's one who loves to ride her bike, and this was not a place she could ride her bike to. This was something she had to take her car. So Reno, Nevada, Fillmore Way. Oh, here we go. Let me share this. Oh, see, they gave me a really good option of share this tab instead, and I didn't do it. So let me find it. And then we'll bring JJ in as soon as I'm done doing this one. Hang on a second. Let's see, 11 Fillmore Way. So that's where it is. So it's right off of Mayberry.
Yeah, over off 4th Street.
Yep. There's 4th Street.
By the river over there.
By the river. Yeah.
Yep. That's beautiful.
Well, that's not too far. Yeah, that's not too far. So that's a nice place there. So yeah, check it out. Get out there to the Center for Healthy Aging and maybe help them out and help yourself out as well. That would be a good thing, don't you think?
Yeah, totally. It's nice.
Yeah. And I'm happy to see that JJ has joined us. So let me get him in here. Hello, JJ Carrell. How are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you guys today?
Oh, doing wonderfully.
Good.
We're just talking about some opportunities for volunteers to do some gardening in one of the areas here in Reno, Nevada. So I'm hoping to get you out here too, JJ.
Well, I love to. I don't know if I'm a real good gardener, but we'll see.
Well, I think we want you out here to be a speaker for us. So, we're going to talk about that off air.
All right. That sounds great. Maybe a little gardening on the side.
There you go. That would be fun. So for anyone who did not check out my Substack, I posted about JJ, who has 2 books, Treason and Invaded. Invaded was the first one, and I was fortunate enough to meet you then when you wrote that and learn a little bit about you. But since then, you have really broadened your narrative. That's how I would say it, because you were talking about the border and how bad it had been, and it was bad for you. But then when Trump came in, it seemed like things were improving. And I want you to share the story, but I kind of wanted to set this up because now you're talking about much more than just the invasion. It's the type of invasion that's happening as well. So I'm going to let you share a little bit about yourself, talk about, how that all came about.
Okay. I did 24 years in the United States Border Patrol. I spent the majority, all of my time in San Diego sector. However, I did work the entire Arizona corridor. We call it the corridor. It's the border, the whole California border as far as Tijuana all the way to the eastern corridor. So I've been there, done it. I started my career in 1997 in Imperial Beach Station, securing the Tijuana-San Diego border, which was during the most violent times in recent Border Patrol history. I rose up the ranks, not because I was a administrative guy that did things that everyone said. No, I ran task forces, and it's a slower way to move up in all in law enforcement, actually. I did the job. And I rose up to senior leadership in San Diego sector, and I retired my my last year in my career. I was a deputy patrol agent in charge, and I was Joe Biden's first year in office. So I witnessed the intentionality, the strategic destruction of our border on purpose. They did it intentionally. And after about 7-8 months, there was no way I could continue to do it. I knew that I would have to leave, or I would sabotage what he was trying to forced us to do. So I just decided to leave and retire. And I'm resentful about that personally, because I had one more career move left before I retired. That was my goal when I started in 1997. That was to run a large station on the border. And I was in line for that. So I'm very personally resentful. And then on a bigger scale, to see our nation be destroyed the way it was. And never in my wildest dreams during that last year of my career could I have ever anticipated the level of treason Joe Biden, Mayorkas would perpetrate on America. Never. Because what they accomplished and what they did through illegal channels within the DHS machine to open the border, I still can't believe that they were able to achieve that. They allowed in 30 million illegal aliens in 4 years. 30. They admit, the government, who I don't know anyone that would trust our government in any capacity. But if you do, they admit to 18 million. They admit to 18 million illegal aliens came into America in 4 years. That's
And
4.5 million people a year.
it's huge. It's huge.
So, and then I left, I wrote my first book. It became a bestseller on Amazon. And then I partnered with a gentleman by the name of Ryan Matta, and I was supposed to film one documentary called What is Treason Invaded? And through the filming of that, unbeknownst to me, he and I filmed 2 documentaries. So we created a series, and my first documentary out is What is Treason Trafficked? And it's about the intentional trafficking of children, unaccompanied alien children, illegal alien children, from babies all the way to 17 years old. And our government arrested and released 550,000 of them into America, and they can't find any of them.
I want to address that a little bit because
Okay.
you were kind enough to send me the film, and I watched the entire thing. And I have to tell anybody who has not seen it should really go and see it because, and that's available online. I'm gonna have links and everything available for that.
Okay.
And it also was in my Substack post. But the thing about it was I was aware just from listening to people like you and others that were talking about the child trafficking. But to hear some of those whistleblowers was just heartbreaking. And that's the only thing I can call it, because they were traumatized by the fact that of what they had done. So you want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure. To put this in a context, the last year of President Trump's first term, we arrested about 15 to 20,000 unaccompanied alien children. That was still left over from the debacle of Obama and what he did to all the policies of handling children. So that's still a great number. However, we had tight regulations and controls over who these children were, who they were turned over to. There was background checks, there was follow-up checks, there were DNA checks. So 15 to 20,000. Then came Biden. We went to over 120,000 the first year. He removed all background checks. He removed all DNA testing, and we began to traffic children from one cartel on the south side to cartels on the north side. This isn't disputable. This isn't my theory. This has been proven to be factually true, and it's been proven factually true in congressional hearings. I testified in front of Congress. Let me tell you what a boondoggle, and the idea that was reinforced in me that the dumbest people in our nation are our representatives. Dumb as stumps, absolutely, and corrupt, and absolutely corrupt. We, being the government, has held at minimum a half a dozen of these hearings on child sex trafficking, and they've done nothing. In fact, I will even, and I'm the biggest MAGA supporter and Tom Homan supporter and Kristi Noem. I have an open-ended question. Where are all these children? Donald Trump, where is the gigantic task force hunting down these children? And I know a lot of them are already dead. And I know Donald Trump has said that several times, and he's correct. Then let's find where these shallow graves are, and let's pull the remains of these children, and let's make accountable of America's crime against these children. 550,000 that we know of, and it's well over 1 million that crossed our border in 4 years. Do not let that number of 500,000 bamboozle you. It's over 1 million children. We consumed children. Our nation, the number one nation that consumes child pornography in the world is America. The number one exporter of pornography in the world is America. One of the top nations on planet Earth that physically pays money to rape children is America. We're no longer the shiny city on the hill, and I take no joy in saying that. That's just the truth. That's just the truth. Who's one of the number one, if not the number one consumer of hard narcotics in the world? America. America is mutilating, brutalizing their children. Why don't we take a look in a long look in the mirror and realize Make America Great Again stands for something, meaning America's not great right now. And anybody that challenges me and says, well, that's unpatriotic. No, this is the truth. Are we supposed to live in fantasy land that America is great? Are you kidding me? Look at across the globe. How many conflicts is America involved in? How many? Endless. So everyone in the world is wrong, and the common denominator in everything that's going wrong is America, and somehow we're the righteous country. It's insanity. Our country, our government trafficked over 550,000 children, and I prove it in the documentary. Ma'am, you could say it. I talked to and interviewed numerous people inside the belly of the beast, outside chasing, looking for these children. And know what they all told me? All of them. That the federal government of the United States of America is the world's largest child sex trafficking organization in modern history, period. Period.
Okay. Okay. So, Ed, did you want to ask your question or you want to wait?
Either way,
Go right ahead.
It's just sobering news. And do you have any satisfaction? I mean, you wrote your books prior to President Trump becoming president. Is there any satisfaction that some of the things and weaknesses you've seen have been addressed or are being addressed?
You know, I don't know if satisfaction, I've thought about this a lot. Like, what is the adjective that I use, right? My last book, Treason, became a bestseller, and I waited until like the second or third week of Donald Trump being inaugurated to write my last chapter because I wanted to see what he was going to do. And I just wrote my last chapter on what he was doing. What I find, it's not satisfying so much as I find it professionally validating to say, I wrote about this in 2023. I wrote about it again in 2024 into 2025. And every single thing that I wrote and showed in my documentaries is being proven factually true because of Trump's executive orders and DOJ, and the way DOJ has been able to go into USAID and confirm everything that I've been saying, that our federal government utilized USAID to fund in the tunes of hundreds of billions of dollars, foreign NGOs, paid George Soros, etc., used all of the religious organizations to bring in 30 million people to the border. And then our government, through Joe Biden, funded DHS, and DHS laundered the money through FEMA. That's not even nothing that I wrote about is disputable now. Funded FEMA by the tunes of hundreds of billions of dollars to move 30 million people into America. And maybe the bigger question that no one ever asks or rarely ever asks is a three-letter word, why? Why did our government bring in 30 million people, a total of 50 million right now? 50 million illegal aliens live in America. 1 in 6, 1 in 7 residents illegal alien. Why? Because it's a demographic time bomb, not race or ethnicity. This is about citizens versus non-citizens. And Ed, when you overlay the 50 million and you overlay the birth rates, we are a negative birth rate in our women, meaning we're dying. And then you bring in 50 million illegal aliens over decades, and they have a birth rate of 5 times that of American citizens. This is a demographic time bomb. And this is why Donald Trump has to figure a way to get 50 million people out of our nation. Is he doing a great job on the border? Absolutely. I give him an A. I give him a D, or actually almost an F in the interior. If he continues to, at this pace of arresting and deporting 1,500 people a day, 1,000 to 1,500, it will take him over 100 years to deport the criminal aliens that are in our country. That's inexcusable. It's inexcusable, and I don't know what's going on. But the long way of answering your question, I do find professional validation of seeing what it's been uncovered and showing everything in my book is heavily cited, meaning it's not just, hey, this is what I feel. This is at this date, at this time, this is what was recorded. This is what they said in congressional hearing. This is what I've uncovered. And this is my experience. I lived it. I lived this. So I'm not a talking head from Washington, D.C. in a think tank thinking about it, or I saw it. I lived this. I lived this. This is treason. And finally, I would add to your audience, and this is what I believe has to be done, is people need to be arrested. This is treason. President Trump has said it out loud. This is treason. Stephen Miller said it out loud. It's treason. Kristi Noem. I can go on and on and on. Then if you are going to make an allegation of a felony against America and you do not act to arrest and indict, then you're just part of the kabuki theater.
Yeah, just as bad.
Yeah.
So I guess my question to you is, you've been out there a lot, and I see your videos all the time, people posting different things. Has no one from the Trump administration contacted you or Ryan or, anyone about what they're going to do about this, or what they can do, or what and how you might be able to help?
No, they haven't. And I don't understand. and let me pull me away from it, right? So it's not so personal. I don't understand. Like if I was in Tom Homan's place, or Tom Homan hired me and said, JG, talk to me about what you think, I would say, Mr. Homan, what, you're not doing this. I don't understand what you're doing. Why are you not going to hire 50, 100 guys like me that ran massive task forces within ICE and DHS and Border Patrol that know how to do this? Empower us, give us the tools, resources, and manpower, and then allow us to go. If I was in charge, or Tom Homan said, I want you to implement this, this is what I would have done. I would have done this on day one. I would have hired 100 men like me, and I would pair them up per state and said, you two are in charge of this state. Or if it's California, 4 to 6 guys, something big, right? Texas, 4 to 6. But normally I would say you two guys are in charge of Missouri. I want it cleaned out. I want you to deputize them, the deputies and the sheriffs and the police. Here's all the National Guard. You clean that state out of every illegal alien you can get your hands on. And then I want then at the same time, I would create a massive task force that literally goes and hunts for these 550,000 children. And let me tell you, I don't know why that hasn't been done. I really don't. And I watch Tom Homan on TV, and I know him through text, and I know him more through shared friends. And I do know the gentleman that's going to be the new commissioner of CBP, Rodney Scott. Amazing guy. He's going to do great. I have nothing negative to say about these men. They're trying their best. But I know Tom Homan's not funded correctly. I know he doesn't have the necessary personnel. And then we come back to that question, why? Why hasn't Speaker Johnson made that a priority? Because if you want the truth is the federal government is a uniparty, and they have all colluded to the fundamental transformation of America. Ask yourself something. The last 2 years of Joe Biden's presidency, all the Democratic policies that we despise, all the smuggling, all the NGOs, who funded it the last 2 years? That's the Republican Party. And I'll give you an example. The first CR that Speaker Johnson signed was $9.7 billion to the NGOs. Not for a year, for 10 weeks. 10 weeks, $9.7 billion to Catholic Charities, Jewish Family Services, Lutheran Family Services, for those religious organizations to transport and smuggle people into America. This is bigger problem that I think the vast majority of Americans understand. And our government is doing this to us. So is the Western world. I mean, we're not exempt. Look what's happened to Western Europe. They're decimated. They're gone. They're dead man walking. They don't even know it yet. And we're close.
Did you say this when you were testifying in Congress, or did you have an opportunity to say this?
I testified in front of Congress, and this was my testimony. And in a short, this is what my testimony was. Right now, because of Joe Biden's open borders and because of what he's done, right now, thousands of unaccompanied children are being raped right now as we speak. And you know what? The chairman, who is the Republican, he hit his gavel, and you know what he said? It looks like time's up. Time's up. So after it was over, he came to me, and I thought, okay, and this is Clay Higgins. He's a former law enforcement.
Yeah, I remember him.
I'm thinking Clay Higgins is going to come pull me aside and say, hey, let's go in another room and let's have a talk. No, you know what his question was? You want to take a picture with me? No, sir, I don't. You kind of disgust me, sir. But if I could have just 1 minute to give you an idea how corrupt our government is. So when you go to these congressional hearings, I've been asked before and I declined, and I went because Donald Trump won the election. I thought, okay, maybe somebody will hear what I have to say, right? Maybe I can make a difference. I feel a moral obligation to be able to go and speak. Well, when you give a congressional hearing, you can only talk when they tell you can talk. And only the people that are testifying have to swear an oath to tell the truth. Congressmen don't swear an oath. So one of the congressperson, her name is Dahlia Ramirez from Illinois. And Dahlia Ramirez spends 3.5 minutes of her 5 minutes saying that I'm a white nationalist, I'm a racist, I'm a Nazi, everything you can imagine, right? And I have to sit there and take it. And then she begins to talk about women being raped on the border. And she gets very emotional. And I'm sitting there watching her get emotional. And in the business I've been in, when people get emotional, they begin to say things that they should never say. So I perked up and I said, okay, I really need to focus on what this lunatic is about to say. And she states, I'm always quote this, and I put it per quote in my book. She says, I really don't hope to never talk about women being raped on the border ever again, because my mother, when she crossed the border illegally from Guatemala, was raped when she was pregnant with me. So I'm looking around as a former law enforcement border patrol agent, and I'm pointing at her and I'm saying, that person is an illegal alien. She is an illegal alien. She self-admitted in congressional testimony, and you gutless bastards on the right won't say a word because you are so disgusting and impotent. You won't acknowledge that this woman openly admitted to being an illegal alien. I go and I leave. I do a cursory search. She hasn't naturalized. She's married to an illegal alien. Her whole family's illegal aliens. So I have an illegal alien from Guatemala chastising me in the halls of Congress, and nobody has the courage to say what's true. We are ruled by the dumbest people in our society and the most corrupt people in our society. And I don't know how this is going to change. I really don't. And it's mind-boggling. And I don't write things just to write them. Like I have integrity. So when I write a chapter on my book about my correctional testimony, I'm telling you, everything that I thought and believed about the federal government came true. And when I left, the biggest drumbeat in my mind was, this government needs to be downsized to the absolute minimalist that it could possibly be. Our founding fathers never wanted our government to be this large. And I can go on and on about congressional testimony. It is an absolutely kabuki theater lie. It's just show. Nothing's going to get done. Why? Because those people, and the people I interviewed in my documentary, stated this very clearly to me, JJ. They said, JJ, you need to understand. And they were talking to me like this. You need to understand, because you don't seem to get it, that there are pedophiles riddled through our government, congressmen, senators, and presidents. And they paused. You hear what I'm saying? Presidents are pedophiles. And the ones that are not pedophiles know who the pedophiles are, and they will not speak out. Therefore, they can be coerced and blackmailed in the future. Then ask yourself a very simple question. Why does everybody that goes up to Washington, D.C., promises the moon and the sun, the stars, and then they go against everything that, quote, is their founding documents, their characteristics, and vote opposite? Because they're compromised. They are. This is just the truth.
Wow. I kind of don't know what to say at this point. Like I said, I've watched your movie, I read your books, and I'm wondering, what do we do as citizens in America? Because obviously we can't trust our officials that we've hired and that aren't doing what we've asked, which we've all asked the question, why won't they do it? And you've answered it eloquently. So what do we do now, JJ? I mean, you've been on the front lines, you've seen it. And, what do we do? We're back here just now kind of learning about all of this. And many people that I've talked to refuse to believe it. They, they just, oh, no, it's not that bad, right? I mean, I had pulled out from your book, I pulled out the fact that this is not even about child trafficking, but I pulled out that in 2019, Border Patrol arrested a grand total of 2,134 Chinese nationals. And then it says that while you were filming the documentary, you got to the subject of Chinese nationals with ties to the PLA. You were left floored by the number that one of the intel specialists gave me, which was over 100,000. So we went from 2,100 in 2019 to over 100, and God knows how many now. Well, so, actually, this is a bigger problem than just that, right? Well, I mean, we're talking about so many different things.
But we're talking about Chinese nationals. It's over 200,000 that the United States Border Patrol arrested 200,000. And my intel analysts that were tied to the CIA and said, I won't talk to you on the record, but I'll talk to you off the record, and said, and these were the guys that were down on the border in Texas primarily. And they said, we've already identified at least 100,000 PLA soldiers. I can show you video after video after video of Chinese nationals, for whatever reason, they chose San Diego sector and parts of Texas to cross. And when they line them up, a group of 100 at a time, I can sit there and I can just go soldier, 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 soldier. They're standing at parade rest. Who stands at parade rest with shaved heads and the same clothes, the same boots, the same IDs, the same tattoos? Our government did this on purpose. You need to, I know it's hard for people to understand, and it took me quite a while throughout my career to begin to piece this together. But I'm talking, and again, am I the expert on like all things? No. But when you talk to me about the border, I believe I am the expert. I lived it. I researched it for 2 books. I researched and filmed it for 2 documentaries. I'm a guy that's been there. I testified in front of Congress. Everything that I have said, written, or filmed is documented. Don't you think they would have already come after me for lawsuits for the things that I've said, the things that I am so adamant about, the things that I have allegated against? Not one person has challenged me. How's that possible? You said it, ma'am. You see me on the internet. It's not like I'm a wallflower.
No, you're not hiding. No,
I'm not hiding. So
no, not a bit.
Nobody will push back. Isn't that amazing? No one will push back on anything I've said, and I've said a lot. But everything I said is documented. I document. I don't. This is the craziest thing. People say, "Well, that's kind of outlandish." No. Do you understand what I'm bringing it down to? Basically layman's terms. I'm not even talking. You want to hear outlandish? Then we can have a long 3, 4, 5 hour conversation about the inside baseball of this, and that's outlandish. What I'm telling you is just the surface level of the corruption that our government did. And then I always come back to this, ma'am and sir. If you don't like me, like you just don't like the way I sound, or that I'm white, or that I was in law enforcement, then you have to admit that my data is correct, because my data comes from the government you love. And then if we come to that agreement that my data is correct and I'm not making dramatic statements, and you don't agree with my conclusion, then why don't you tell me what the hell's going on? And there's always just silence, because there is no explanation why a government would bring in 30 million people in 4 years, the whole time telling us the border's secure, flying them in, literally taking chartered planes on government-funded dime, going to foreign nations, loading planes up with illegal aliens and flying them into America and releasing them and not documenting who they are. Why would your federal government do that? That has already been proven through FOIAs. This isn't just me surmising. This is actual proven data in court in FISA and in FOIA requests. This is the government admitting it openly. And then what they do? They just laugh, because no one's going to do anything about it. No one's going to do anything. Where are the arrests? We're in day 100 of President Trump's presidency. Not one person. Where's the Epstein files? Where are they?
Yeah, that's a very good question.
Where are the children? 350,000 children that the government admits to losing. 320. They've lost all of them. Where are they? Where's the task force looking for them? Don't you think this would be a national disgrace? And we would say, dear God, we got to find these kids. I mean, we can't. We trafficked over 550,000 kids. They can't find them.
You know, we've talked about this, Ed and I, on our show, we've talked about this, and that was one of our questions: is where the heck are they, and why is nobody looking? So, Ed, did you have a question?
No, this problem is, maybe the largest problem we face, and right, we don't have smart people looking at this. So
what do we do? That's the question. What do we do? We still don't know.
Well, I think unfortunately, this is the only thing. There's two outcomes of this. I really believe. I believe you either take over your city councils and your school boards and you vote in the right sheriff, American first, no sanctuary cities allowed, no giving illegal aliens welfare and social benefits, and then you work from the ground up, meaning you take over Nevada, you take over Oregon, you take whatever it is, you take it over, and you become a red state, and you make demands because the states are not subservient to the federal government. The federal government is subservient to the states. Now, if nothing gets done, we will see a demographic explosion. And we're beginning to see it with Muslims in the
Yep.
Islamic
in Texas,
faith,
especially.
in Texas, actually all over California, everywhere. Muslim mosques are going up by the daily, because we've imported. These are not legal people.
Right.
Just take the Afghan debacle. Okay, people don't know this because they never talk about it, but I know it. I know the people that checked in, the 86,000 Afghanis that flew in on the C-130s. 86,000. Do you know that not one of the 86,000 people that we brought over, the Afghans, have been thoroughly vetted? Do you know that? Not one.
I do now.
Do you know that the men and women that were processing them in Philadelphia, when they were flying in Philadelphia, they were landing in the Philadelphia International Airport. They had a concourse set up. And the men that were processing them, the supervisors have called and told me, JJ, we have no idea who they are. We gave them new names. And then he said, do you know what we had to give them? We had to give them birth dates. Brand new birth dates. Why? Because they're on some crazy calendar where they're 400 years old. So we had to give them a new birth date and a new name, and then we released them.
Wow.
Released them. We released terrorists into America, and no one says a word. This is just a small subset of the absolute insanity that our government has done to America. And it is treason. I don't write a book about it just to be flippant. I know what treason is, and I know what the maximum penalty of treason is. It is death. So I don't say it flippantly, and I don't accuse that person, oh, that's treasonous. No. Mayorkas is a traitor. Joe Biden's a traitor. Kamala Harris is a traitor. Susan Rice is a traitor. We need to get into the world of speaking bold truth. And we're led by politicians that are gutless outside of Donald Trump. And I don't know the answer. The answer is, if we don't take over our government and demand change, like physical change, there is no other way except we will be swallowed up and devoured by this beast, or we will fight. Either way, America as we know it is gone. It's gone.
Well, I would agree with that. We've been in our state, there are a number of folks that have been fighting the election fight since 2020, 2021, thereabouts, which lends to what you're talking about, which is to take over the different entities, the county, local, state. And it's next to impossible when you recognize what's happening with the voter rolls and all the rest of it, where, so I mean, this is not a tomorrow answer, but it is an answer that has to be addressed, because there's so much fraud, I'll say it, fraud going on, that it's going to be very hard to take those things over. We watched it in Nevada. The president won, but all our down ballots were, they were just oppressed. That's what I would say. Well, so go ahead.
Well, this is something that is rarely discussed, and it's come out to be true, factually true, is all of the NGOs, when they got a hold of all of these people, they registered them to vote.
Right.
And then when those illegal aliens left the shelters or the hotels on the border and in the border communities, to include Nevada, all the mail-in ballots came to those
right.
hotels. So those hotels would have 10,000 mail-in ballots. So they would just sit there and fill them out and then send them in. And that's why you see this fraud. I'll be very honest. I am shocked that they didn't steal this last election, because they had at least 20 million fraudulent mail-in ballots to use. And I don't know why they didn't, or what. I do know that because the Republicans were so like hawks on it. But they would have cheated again. Why is Catholic Charities, who I'm a Catholic and I'm disgusted by them, Jewish Family Service and Lutheran Family Services, why would they begin to register illegal aliens to vote?
Right. I agree. Why would they? That makes no sense at all. None of it. None of it does, you know, and again, going back to, I can only speak about elections because that's what I focused on for the last 4 years plus. And everything we see, and you go in front of the county commissioners, you go in front of the state legislatures, and I have to agree with you. A lot of them just laugh at you or scoff, and just basically they don't care what you say. They've
No,
done
they
their
don't.
best. They've done their best to get rid of public comment. They'll make you not have public comment at the beginning of a meeting and only let you talk at the end. What good is that, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's ridiculous what's happening.
Well, when
Well,
you
and
really,
they have selective law enforcement. It's
Oh
so
God, yes,
so it's
yeah,
so, I mean, that's a thing, right? I'm in a red state now. I'm actually uh, taking care of my mom. My mom's older, and she's 84, and oh, I need some help with some things. So I've been in Florida for a couple of months. I've been in Ohio for a couple of months, where I grew up, and they actually care about the speed limit, right? There are highway patrolling. It's a law,
Yep.
so you obey it, right? And I was always used to that, and you can get speeding tickets in Nevada. Don't get me wrong, but they're not sitting there waiting for you. You don't see their presence. You don't feel their presence. And so there's the rule of law that's expressed here that you just don't have that feeling out west.
Right. You don't,
It's
and that is something that's missing in our society, is there's no more law and order. It's chaos.
yeah, it
And
is.
it's two tiers of justice. The people that they're elites can get away with anything, and they're not held accountable. And we don't pay a certain fee, then they come after us. And then the other side, the low economic inner city, they're jailed at a larger rate. I mean, in the whole system, the whole governmental system is corrupted. It's so overwhelming. That's why I give Donald Trump so much grace. Is I can't even imagine the magnitude of stuff that he has to, like. He must make 1,000 to 2,000 decisions every single day, like massive decisions, because the corruption is so immense that there's no other way around it. Our government was sending billions of dollars of Social Security and Medicaid checks to foreign nationals in foreign
Right.
countries. They can't track $4.7 trillion from the Treasury. Does anybody can get their brain wrapped around the amount of money we're talking about? The level of theft and fraud. It's not waste and abuse. It's felony theft. It's treason against America. You stole America's treasure and you gave it to foreign nationals and circled back through NGOs to you, and yet no one's held accountable. How
So
does
who's the person that you need to talk to encourage change? Who is that person, or who is that group, or who is that entity? Right? Who is that?
right?
Because you have a ton of information, and it's obvious that you're not being heard because the mainstream's certainly not going to carry your
No.
story.
No,
You
and
know, I mean,
no, they're not, and that's to include Fox News. And
yes,
I'll give you an idea, just so I'm being very transparent. The actual day that I'm testifying in front of Congress, Fox News got a hold of me, and their producers hounded me. You got to come on. You've got to come on. Okay, that's fine. I'll come on. When do you want to come on? This one I want you to come on. Okay, I give my testimony, and because my testimony is not of a wallflower, they called me immediately and said, we changed directions. They don't want to hear truth. I really believe that. I believe that there's a faction of our society, to include people in the Trump administration, that just don't want to hear the truth. They don't. And
I think
I'm sorry.
it.
Go ahead.
No. I apologize for interrupting. The narrative, right? For whatever reason, and it's again makes the hair on the back of my neck stand up. But child trafficking is a term that people shy away from now, just because of the brutal reality. In fact, it's child slavery. and maybe bringing that slavery term will elevate to the press. I mean, it's maybe part of the vernacular, because it is nothing but dominating another person and using them up and throwing them away. It is the most brutal of things. And slavery, or I don't know what kind of vernacular in today's world that is eye-catching, right? Not only do we have to be factual today, we have to be cool and catchy too.
Mhm. Well, the thing that I will say about that is it would make sense that this would be a nonpartisan issue, correct? That this is children.
Absolutely.
Let's
Well,
let's
it should
Absolutely.
be. Yep.
but it's not. It's a full-on absolute partisan thing because they don't want to take accountability and they want to hide it. And I'll go one step further. They're compromised. They're compromised or they're stupid. That Mr. Ivey, the congressman from Maryland, who also has championed the MS-13 gang member.
Oh,
from
yeah.
yeah, he's on the committee, and he actually mocks me and several of the other witnesses, and actually says child organ harvesting, is that really a real thing?
Ugh.
And I'm like, and the way he said it, I instinctively knew not only are you stupid, but you know it. You're deflecting and you're trying to mock us, and you know this is happening, and you must be a part of it on some level. And we need to be honest about this and talk to each other. We have child pornography in the tens and hundreds of millions of films of child rape. There has to be millions of people in order to consume that much pornography. Millions. So are they just this small group? Of course not. How many people were in Epstein's Island? 1,000, 2,000? And then you have AG Bondi telling us that there's 200 victims. What?
Yeah. Yeah.
200
that's
victims,
ridiculous.
man. The FBI has seized over 20,000 DVDs from Jeffrey Epstein's houses, and you're telling me there's 200 victims? What is wrong? I don't believe anything these people say. And I'm a Pam Bondi fan, and not anymore. I think she bungled this. This is a slam dunk. Where are these? This goes back to what I'm saying. Where are the Epstein files? Why are they not been shown? These are the people. Well, because you can't show the people that did this, because they're all the high elite people in our media, in our government, in entertainment, in sports, in the elite corporate world. They can't show us because we will realize that the level of depravity, the level of immorality, the level of evil that is running our country will shock Americans to their core. That's why we're not seeing it.
Well, I sure appreciate that you came on today and shared your story, JJ, because I think that more people need to know about it. I'm going to go out of my way to share this interview widely, and I want to make sure everybody knows how to reach you as well. So I put up your website there.
Thank you.
And you do you do a weekly podcast, right? Or no, excuse me, a weekly blog. Am I correct?
I do a blog on Substack, but everything now is self-contained in my website, jgcarrell.com, and I do a nightly show on Worldview Tube, and it's all on my website. Everything gets uploaded onto there, so that's the best place to see the things that I have created and written about and talk about daily. And I thank you guys for allowing me to be on your show and talk so openly about something that I believe is the greatest threat to our republic. Thank you.
And I thank you for being here, and I will be in touch. We would like to have you come out if we can. So we'll be talking. All right.
Okay, that's great.
Okay,
Y'all have a good night. Thank you very much.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
sir.
All right.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye. Wow. Wow. That's all I can say.
If
So
that
that was-
doesn't shake you to your core, there is nothing that will.
No, it's true. That was, wow. I mean, I've heard him on other videos, but this was powerful, very powerful.
It's
So.
just so ridiculous.
Daunting.
Yeah, and daunting, and there's just no explanation other than like sick-mindedness.
Well, and I think that, I don't know about you, but I've watched many congressional hearings and the different things that they do on these, and you keep wondering, well, when is something going to happen, right? When is somebody going to do something? And then they'll
Well,
say, oh, well, we can't do anything because we don't have that kind of power. We just do this for awareness. Well, why waste our time? Why
I'd
waste our time?
I'd love to see President Trump take it up. I think that the public, myself included, right, like fentanyl, right? I think that that was like a boogie monster or whatever, right? We can't get our hands around it. Well, he included fentanyl in looking at the border and stuff, and he's minimizing it, right? So they are, not eliminating it, but really minimizing it.
They're
I
making a
would
difference. Yeah.
I would love to see the focus on this. I don't care who they are; they need to burn.
Yeah. Well, and it's so
I
hard.
don't care.
Yeah, I don't either. And if if everything that JJ said is true, it's everybody. It's everybody. There's probably few that aren't have some involvement in some fashion, or at least know about it, and that's just as bad.
It
If you know
is.
about it, you need to do something about it. And I mean, I think we've all been in the position if you work for somebody and you know something's happening and you're like, ugh, I don't want to deal with that. Right. But this is way too serious to
Yeah,
not want
this
to
is
deal with.
beyond. This
This
is
is,
beyond
yeah.
that.
Yeah. I mean, I get it that, oh man, I'm just going to look the other way and move on. I'm not involved. Well, you are involved. If you know about it, you're involved and and you need to do something about it. And as I said, go and pick up those documentaries because the whistleblowers themselves were really what got me because when they started out they really thought they were doing something good. They really thought they were going to be helping. And to find out afterwards what they had been involved in, I imagine it's hard to live every day knowing that you traffic children, right? I mean, they were a part of it. And not intentionally, but they were. It's horrid.
Yeah,
It's
that
horrid.
it. Oh,
So
I, I. Yeah, I mean, it's
yeah,
like
I
it's like
agree.
driving a car and accidentally running over somebody, right? It's just
Yeah,
like, you
yeah, it's
know,
hard.
yeah. I can't imagine how hard it is to
Right.
live with that and know that, and others ignore or minimize this. I mean, to me, I, this is worse than drugs.
Yep. It is. It definitely is. And as JJ said, this is a nonpartisan thing. This is about the kids.
Yeah, well,
And,
the
you
things that
know,
last and the things that are the most challenging to get around are the uniparty issues.
yep. Yep. It's pretty bad.
It's just sad.
Well, I hate to leave on a down note, but we're gonna take a little break here, and we're gonna just turn off our mics. You'll still see us. I'm gonna leave JJ's stuff up there. Somebody passes by, maybe they'll go check out his website, and then when we come back, we will do our word of the day. Maybe lighten it up a little.
Yeah, we'll have some
Um,
smiles in the second hour.
Perhaps, yes. I think we will. I think we will. All right. So thank you everyone for being here. And as I said, we are going to be right back. We're just going to go on a little bit of a break. All right. See you in a minute. Hey, welcome back.
Hey,
This is What's the Story? This is our second hour. And let me stop my screen there. There we go. Hey, everybody. This is the second hour of What's the Story? And we had a really interesting first hour, that's for sure.
it is so nice to have folks with intensity and passion fighting fights that we need to have fought.
Boy, isn't that true? That's so true. Yeah, wow, J.J. Carrell, who is the author of Treason, which just came out in February, and Invaded, which came out a couple years ago. Border Patrol agent, very knowledgeable about that. He's representing himself as an expert, and I think if you spent 24 years on the border, you probably can be. And just in reading his book Treason, he noted that the child trafficking wasn't as bad when he was, on the border as after Joe Biden came in. So pretty impressive documentation. Lots of it. That's all I can say is there's a whole lot of it. He referenced everything that he talked about, and I recommend reading both the books, Invaded and Treason. Both of them are also on Audible, and no, he did not pay me to promote his books, but I will because I think it's information that even if you don't believe him, I think that you should challenge him if you don't believe him and challenge what he has to say.
You brought up on the show, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago, the Epstein files. We talked how that we were expecting them with the others and they didn't come.
Right.
What up?
And what happened?
Here we sit and we're still what up.
Right. Right.
I mean, it's, I love President Trump, and I love, full accountability, but that's of all things, right? It's of all things. You can't selectively be open about this and not that.
And having heard reports about his first term and how he was blocked from doing certain things, I don't think, and I'll say it, I don't think there's any excuse for any blocks on this. If he's being blocked, he needs to just be the bully that he is and get out there and work his way through, because this is too important. And I know that may sound harsh, but
the government has to do the same as the people, right? The people, we take on our biggest challenges, right? And we talk about it from networking, and we're often in our own way, but the government needs to take on its biggest challenges, and I think we've taken on some big challenges. The border, certainly fentanyl, but these missing kids is above homelessness to me.
Well, and JJ referenced like over 500,000. He was talking about 550,000, and I've heard 320 thrown around, which I thought was horrid. But 550 or more, my goodness, who can't find those people? Who can't find those kids?
Well, it's like 10% or 15% of the population of the U.S.
And why do we well, obviously now we're not continuing to bring them over, but they're obviously here, whether they're alive or not, they should be found. That's critical. So anyway,
they need a chance.
They do, yes, and there are others too. I mean, there are women. There are probably men. Who knows? We don't know. We don't know what people are going through. I mean, this is all foreign to us. So I just hope that this can get his information, whether it's this one or some other. He's out there all over the place. So somebody needs to get this to President Trump and his administration, and somebody needs to do something, because
people need to sound the alarm, because it's it is so distasteful. And I know, I mean, I watch Murder, She Wrote. It makes murder kind of pleasant, right? I don't like the FBI.
Leave it, Ted.
Child trafficking cases, because I don't like to see it socially. I don't like.
Well, of course not.
Here, but it's a challenge that's dirty, and people have to open their eyes and act on it.
Yeah, they do. They really do. It's not a good thing. So let's talk about something a little more lighthearted, because we can't do anything right now about this, but we'll be working on it. I have a couple of articles in my head, so I'll push the envelope a little bit maybe. And let's talk a bit about manufacturing coming back to America. Do you think that's going to happen, Ed? Do you think that we can do that?
So I do, right? I mean, I think, and I think it's ongoing. I think that the key is the time, right? How long does it take to build a factory, and then your first, then you can start hiring people. And true, people are hired while they're building things, construction folks, but it, it's something I'm sure is measured in years, not days,
I
right?
agree. I agree.
And so I think that, like, you know hopefully whoever the next Republican candidate is will be enjoying the benefits of that economy. I do think that they didn't bring it all back, but is he bringing back key parts? Certainly tech and auto, and hopefully other things. I don't know if you can hear the train in the
I
background.
can.
Right. I mean, there's trains that run by here. I'm telling you, right here on the Ohio, you know what it is? Coal. We're
Oh,
all
okay.
full of
There you
coal, and
go.
and the coal trains are running day and night. And so, not only is it drill, baby, drill, coals flow into those power plants. So,
Well,
I
and I
mean,
pulled up this article to talk about the manufacturing. Honda is moving its Civic production from Mexico to the United States to avoid potential tariffs. And so this decision is part of a response to trade policy uncertainties, particularly regarding tariffs on Mexican imports. The new production will take place in Indiana. So people in Indiana start looking for jobs with an
yeah.
expected production volume of 210,000 units per year at the Indiana plant. Now, they aren't indicating how long before that's going to happen. This was posted March 3rd of 2025. I don't remember hearing much about this on the news, but I'm a random news gatherer, so that's not necessarily that it wasn't talked about. So let's
So
see. I'm looking to see if
you have Stellantis and you have Ford. Ford has an advertisement now that says we employ more American workers than any manufacturer. The pride in the commercials and the auto commercials is coming out. Hopefully, U.S. steel mills start flowing again. That's a bunch of workers. I know here, Chillicothe, Ohio, had a paper plant just close. It was like 1,000 years old, but it was 800 people out of work.
right.
Um, and yeah, there's all kinds of paper plants north of us towards Columbus and things. And Ohio's got a lot of growth going on. It's crazy how much stuff they're
Well,
building
I
here.
I guess they're taking it very seriously because this isn't even going to start doing any kind of manufacturing until 2028, May of 2028. So, but the fact that they're even considering it says that they're taking the president pretty seriously on
Well,
this.
right, but I think
So,
that's going to be common. Is that I don't know how quickly can Apple move
right,
jobs here,
right, right,
right?
right.
They build a
Yeah,
plant, and it's measured in years. So is there, like NAFTA, right? I mean, I don't know. I was always a big boy. I knew that we were lifting up Canada and Mexico at the time at our own sacrifice. However, I think our regional partners need to be strong. Now's the time when we're weak, where we need to take those opportunities back.
yeah. So my next story that I was talking about is that are there really directed energy weapon attacks in America? And I don't know if you remember, we did a story about this, and we were saying there were a lot of people saying, that doesn't even exist, that's not real. Well, I found this, and this is on April 22nd. Veteran investigative journalist Catherine Herridge released a bombshell video report on X, shedding light on disturbing reality of directed energy weapon attacks targeting U.S. personnel both at home and abroad. So I wish Doug was here because we didn't even mention that he wasn't able to make it. Because yeah, he was the one who said he didn't believe in this at all. I think I'd have to go back and look, but I'm pretty sure
I'm
that's what
going
he
to tell
said.
you right. I mean, I had an old coach who said that some percent of anything that's said is true. It may be zero,
Oh yeah.
or it may be
I've heard
100.
that. Yep.
And
Yep.
I believe
There's an element of truth in everything.
Totally.
Yep.
And so, I am more likely to believe than not believe now.
I know. And that's horrible that, because that's not good either, right?
Well,
That
it's just, right. I've always not been an institutional truster. I've always been skeptical of institutions. And now, Doge, as JJ said, Doge
right.
and President Trump cutting things, and he's peeling the onion, and it's ugly in there.
It is. So this is part of, I think this is showing where in her video these different topics are covered. But a top U.S. neuroscientist and military advisor confirms the reports are credible that these DEWs have happened on U.S. soil. So not only do we have, the government sponsoring child trafficking, we've got directed energy weapon attacks right here in the U.S., and I don't know. It's crazy. It's crazy. So the exclusive new records reveal exposure to microwave weapon after intel officer discovered secret op. These are weapons of maximum disruption. It allows you to get in fast, hit hard, get out, and only then will the effects begin to be shown. That's just horrible.
Well, is this one of those weapons that can disable or jam or confuse drones?
I don't know. I think they were using them on people, from what I heard. Yeah, no, these are being used on people. So, yeah, it's not a pretty picture, but you ought to check it out because there are people. Yeah, see, I feel sick. How network killed Hunter Biden's story. Oh, that's something different. Sorry. Anyway, so yeah, there's the Clinton Foundation on timeline. So interesting when you do this stuff, right? Can I say?
It is. Presidents are way wiser after serving.
Yeah, isn't that true? Oh my goodness. So, here's a good one. A young man, supposedly, I have to pull up my other thing here. Hold on a second. Well, let's first talk about Andrew Cuomo. Is he going to face charges for his actions during the COVID pandemic? Remember when he was doing...
Which ones?
Well, I'm talking specifically about when he put all those folks in the nursing homes. I mean, that was... Yes. That was crazy.
For that. I think he should fry. I mean, right, he's dealing with the facts at hand, but, you're the executive and that's your decision to make and you botched it.
Well, wasn't it Janice Dean? She was the meteorologist on Fox, and she, I think it was her in-laws were in one of those nursing homes, and they passed. Oh. And I know that she was one of the ones. I think she tried to charge or to sue. I don't know if she sued Cuomo or the nursing home or whomever, but I don't think she was very successful with it. So this might be heartening for her to be able to see. I'm sorry about all the advertising up there, but there's nothing I can do about that.
Why the mainstream media and I'll say mainstream folks don't want to learn from the recent pandemic is beyond me, right? Anytime we go back to analyze what was right and what was wrong, or, mostly all wrong that they did, it doesn't, there's no next time, let's don't do that, because this will happen again in our lifetime.
Oh, yeah, you bet it will, and it may be soon. The House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer, he's a Republican from Kentucky, is asking the Department of Justice to criminally prosecute former, and this is on MSN, so it's not, I think that's who sponsored this, yeah. It's by David Zimmerman. So it's mainstream news. I don't know.
I don't know. I can't believe they
Well,
care about anybody.
he wants to criminally prosecute former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo for lying to Congress about his handling of the COVID-19 pandemic that resulted in the deaths of many nursing home patients. So they've done this criminal referral to the U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi. So I guess we'll have to see if she does anything. The committee chairman wrote in a Monday letter that the Biden administration ignored the referral despite clear evidence of Cuomo's false statements. So what's the consequence of that, right? I mean, so you criminally refer him, and it doesn't bring back any of the family members that passed in 2020
Yeah, but
as a result of that.
Keep him from being in a position of power.
It might do that. Yeah, it might do that. But people ignore that stuff, right? Especially with the way the media just pounds you and pounds you and pounds you with information.
It does. And according to that picture you got up, it looks like Andrew Cuomo's mowing more grass than I am.
Or he's got the same tanning stuff that Trump uses, right?
Maybe. Maybe.
Come on, we know he uses something. Okay, so the referral stated that Cuomo allegedly helped draft and review the New York State Department of Health's July 2020 report that undercounted the total number of deaths in nursing homes by 46%. That's a lot. Citing documents and testimony from other witnesses proving so. Cuomo testified that he was involved in neither the drafting nor the review of the report. Testimony of the House Select Committee subcommittee on the coronavirus pandemic said amounts to a lie.
Yep.
So
I mean, you made the decision, right? You did it. I mean, I get saying, hey, I made the decision with the facts I had. I was wrong. That is, I think what he needs to say, not, just running and hiding. Best I know, folks just aren't, as JJ said, right? You don't have people speaking their minds and being honest.
right. So they're saying this was not a slip up. It was a calculated cover up by a man seeking to shield himself from responsibility for the devastating loss of life in New York's nursing homes. He also lied about not having any discussions about the July 2020 reports being peer reviewed and not knowing whether the report was reviewed by people outside the New York Health Department, according to the 107-page referral. So it's just all about lying. Lie, 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 lie.
Yeah, it's one after the other. And, New York, you get what you did, you get what you pick. But
yeah,
I can't see how he's a viable candidate.
Well, let's hope not. But, boy, they just go on and on in this article.
They're just ridiculous, though, in some of these states. I mean, New York is one of them. They just did not. I mean, it's just comical.
Yeah, it's crazy is what it is.
I mean, Chicago's way worse. They're just so lame that they're almost irrelevant now.
So I don't know if you heard, but there was a report out. I've got it here on my iPad, so bear with me as I scroll through this. Apparently there was, and this is from, looks like it's, I can't tell who posted this, but as soon as I find out, I will tell you. Oh, I think it was MJ Truth. So apparently there was another plot to assassinate President Trump. This person by the name of Nikita Kassap, 17, from Waukesha, Wisconsin, allegedly killed his parents in a plot to assassinate President Trump. He reportedly lived with the decomposing bodies of his parents. There's nothing wrong with this gentleman, huh? For nearly 2 weeks, sent messages from his parents' phones to avoid suspicion, and recorded videos near the bodies. He fled in his stepfather's car with $14,000 cash, 70 pieces of jewelry, credit cards, and the family dog, and was arrested March 1st in Kansas. He allegedly wrote a 3-page document calling for Trump's assassination to spark a political revolution and save the white race with anti-Semitic and neo-Nazi rhetoric. He planned to use a drone and explosive, killed parents to gain funds and autonomy for the attack, and to overthrow the U.S. government. He reportedly shared his plans on TikTok and Telegram, discussed fleeing to Ukraine with a Russian-speaking contact. There is so much in there, isn't there? That is a lot of stuff.
Well, this person could have like mental health professionals
Oh
working
my
at their base.
goodness.
Sounds to me like we're fortunate that he just offed his family.
Oh my goodness. I don't know. That's just way too much information. I'm looking them up right now. So, yeah, the USA Today is talking about, here, let me share this one. I don't have my screen sharing on. Let me share this. So, this is the person that is allegedly the person that was killed parents to use their money to kill Trump. That's from New York Post. Newsweek, who is Nikita Kassab, teen allegedly killed parents. So everybody's saying it. I don't know. What do you
But
think?
what was he doing? Hiding in a duck blind in Kansas, expecting Trump to walk by, or was he trying to move? I mean, go somewhere.
You know, it's very weird. So he was charged in his parents' death and is accused of plotting to kill Trump. So apparently, oh, and here's all the information that I just read off that post. Fatally shot them at their home outside Milwaukee in February and lived with the decomposing bodies for weeks, then took the cash. Wow. I don't know. There's a story in there, isn't there? What would have possessed somebody to do that? You know, killing your parents just to get the money to go and kill the president? I don't know. There's something sick about that, right?
Well, yeah, no doubt. I mean, I think
Wow.
anyone who commits murder is like insane, at least at that time, or their thoughts are. That's just twisted. That's like a made-for-TV movie.
It is. It's one of your murder she wrote, right?
Well, murder she wrote are like I said, they're like happy killings.
Is
They
there
don't
such a
have
thing?
well, they don't have the gore. People aren't severed in half. They don't have puncture
I don't
wounds.
know.
So, but anyway, that's it, it. It's just beyond ridiculous, right? I mean, we just have to admit, and I like HHS chasing down autism, and hopefully they chase down MS, and they chase down cancer, and they chase down some of the biggest diseases. But people just inherently are flawed. I mean, right?
Boy, isn't that true?
There's just a certain amount of folks that just have a broken chip.
That's an interesting way to express it. Yes, they do have a broken chip.
I
You're right.
mean,
Let's do something easier.
okay.
Let's go to this. Here is our clue for the word of the day. So you know what the word of the day is, so you can't really do it. But this is your picture, and then
I wouldn't have got it from the picture.
I know, put a criminal in front of this, and you've got your word of the day. Do you
Yeah,
understand?
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. You wouldn't get it from the picture, but if you look at the clue, put a criminal in front of this, and you've got your word of the day. So our word of the day is confraternity. So that's what it is, in case you were wondering. And
Is confraternity, is that like a gang inside the prison system?
I think it's a gang inside the Catholic Church.
Well, right? Oh, it's the same thing.
Yes, it's a voluntary association of the faithful, right?
Is this anything like the Da Vinci Code?
It might be. You know, I was a Catholic. I grew up as a Catholic. I was raised and went to Catholic school for 11 out of 12 of the years. And so much of this is so foreign to me. I just not at all familiar with this word. So it was interesting. And it was all because of what happened, with the Pope passing away. Certain things came up, and confraternity was one of the words that came up. So it's generally a Christian voluntary association of lay people created for the purpose of promoting special works of Christian charity or piety and approved by the church hierarchy. So there you go. That's what a confraternity is. And there are other types of confraternities, different faiths.
Right. Well, we've talked with Paul White. I mean, basically, right, quality confraternity should be running our homeless shelters.
Right. You're right. Yes. So that's your word for today. I don't know if you'll ever use it, but Means group of people with a common interest or a brotherhood. It is often used in the context of Christian associations or societies. So
I can't help but laugh at the con reference. It's almost like con hyphen
I
fraternity,
know. I
right?
couldn't help it.
No, well, I mean, I just don't think it's that, that apple doesn't fall that far from the tree.
Yeah, well, and after what JJ was talking about with Catholic charities and everything else, makes you wonder.
Well,
Makes you
we
wonder.
know in our area or Washoe County that they've done great works. I mean, if there were adoptions
Yes.
anywhere in the last like 50 years, they had their hand in it.
Yeah.
And right, and so they've can I say help people, but who are those people?
Right. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, right. I mean, you have to think or have to with the numbers of kids being trafficked or moved. I would hope that some arms, some confraternities were able to get their hands on some and put them in good homes.
Oh, you just wanted to use the word in a sentence.
Well, I did, but
I heard you twist that around so you could do that. That was funny.
well, a
All right.
wordsmith I'm not.
Oh, well, you did that really well. So, all right. So I want to remind everybody this is our Substack. It's the LaRue Press Network. And what's the storybook hound? Hermson.substack.com. I know I reminded you in the first hour. I'm going to remind you again in the second hour to please subscribe. And you will be able to know what's going to be on the show and whether or not you want to tune in every Tuesday between 3 and 5. And sometimes it's a little after 3, a little before. Now that we're not airing live on the radio and we're doing the replay, we have a lot more flexibility.
Well, and you always have guests worth a clue.
Oh, thanks. Yes, I think that JJ is one of the best ones we've had. And like I say, I had him on when he did Invaded, but that was 2023. We were still airing from the studio
I
at
remember.
America Matters.
Yep, I remember.
You remember?
Yeah, it seemed like
You haven't lost your memory? I'm
So
glad
part,
you, no
I
Alzheimer's for you.
I for sure lost part of it.
Oh, no, you're doing great. Oh, my goodness. So I've kind of run through all my topics here, but I could probably find some more if you want to talk some more.
So
What do you think?
I think I want the tariffs, right, that are all
Oh,
the
yes.
news and everywhere and the worst thing ever and blah blah blah.
Oh, I
Right.
know. I love it.
It is just, I mean, ad
It's
nauseum.
entertaining.
Well, best I know, we haven't seen one price change yet because of it.
No, I've heard some left
They're still
leaning.
talking. They might
Yeah.
or do
Yeah.
what, but you know what's happening, and is so I think maybe President Trump knew what he was talking about, but the car dealers have all gone to employee pricing. They've gone to cut
Right.
things down to keep people buying. What other businesses are right featuring sales on bigger ticket items? Again, they're trying to sell vehicles that opens jobs. And anyway, I think and thought it was fascinating how Ford did it early, Stellantis followed, and I think virtually all the car companies are doing the Made in America employee pricing things. And that's lowering new vehicles. I mean, they're ridiculously priced. However, as far as inflation goes, that's got to be a downward pressure. Obviously, oil and gas, those things are, here, right? It's ridiculous, you guys. I mean, gas has been under $3 a gallon here since I've been here.
Oh, wow.
It's
Well,
two
it's
eighty
down
nine.
to
It's
it's down to
289.
404. Yeah, it's down to 404 here, at least at the gas station that I go to,
I was
which
going to say
wasn't
it's under
bad.
$3. I mean, drove my mom to Columbus to a doctor's appointment. There was a place in Columbus that was $3.20, but down
Wow.
here and all the way 285, 279, 289. And it was, you know, I'll say when I went to Florida there, it was around the $3 number. So it's just slightly less. But I think the
Huh.
pressure on power and fuels is down. So I think that should go some ways to, um, to lowering inflation. Not to mention, everyone's scared in the economy. The Fed's going to have no choice but to lower interest rates, even though the economy is pretty hot. So, fascinating way. But
They're resisting that, though. They're resisting that,
well,
lowering those
well,
interest
that's
rates.
just because they don't like the way President Trump communicates. Right? People don't like saying, "Hey, dude, lower the rates." What the hell? He's like, "Hey, it's
You're
not my
right.
fault. It's not my fault." Right? I
You're
mean,
right.
it's just ridiculous. I laugh every time I get a tweet from President Trump because he just calls it like it is. And unfortunately, there's only 24 hours in a day, and he's barking orders 22 of them, it seems.
I was going to say he's up, I think,
Have,
21 of those,
have
right?
you
From what
seen
I've
some
heard.
of the, there's some tell-alls are coming out of the Biden administration now. There's some books out on
Oh,
how really weak and
yes.
feeble he was, really weakened at Bernie's.
But who didn't know that? Who didn't know that?
So,
Right?
but I don't know,
They knew
probably
that.
about 150 million people that might have voted for him.
I don't know. I find that hard to believe. I think they knew he was feeble, and they just all looked the other way because they didn't want the alternative, which was
People
Kamala,
need
you
to,
know?
people need to take the responsibilities of voting for people, whether it's local, national, state, right? Do their diligence and get the best people. And then maybe we can leverage them a little bit, to JJ's point. I mean, all these folks are bought and sold. I mean, I say they go on Social Security and Medicare and get rid of that like cake eater retirement program.
Well, that's what I was reading that they were trying to put in. I don't know if this was on I don't know if it was for real, I guess I would say, but that they were trying to get a bill in front of Congress to go to term limits and that they don't get any benefits just because they're there. They don't leave with big benefits and pensions and all the rest. They go home.
Yeah. No,
They don't get stuff. I
well,
mean, I'll bet all those folks that are in there now would all leave.
well,
I'll
let's
bet
talk
we would
about another
clear it
perk,
out.
the insider trading perk. Those folks
Yeah,
should not be
right.
allowed to trade
No,
um,
no,
trade equities. They just shouldn't be allowed to.
no,
And
not a bit.
I mean, they can have an agent outside who acts independently, blah blah blah. But the fact is, people with insider. I mean, again, I don't know how many folks you see go to Congress poor, but none of them leave poor, and
No, none of
that
them.
can't. So there, what up with that, right?
I
I mean,
agree.
I don't think it's in tune with the Constitution.
Or with what the American people really want to have happen. And that is a bipartisan issue. That is not one side or the other.
Well, it totally is, and I
You
think that
know,
that's what Republicans need to do, or conservatives need to do
I,
right.
I was going to say, I don't think you should say Republicans or Democrats. I think that it's conservatives that need to
I'll
express this
call it
stuff.
conservative and centrist more. But
Yes,
I think the
centrist. I like that.
conservatives that are in power need to appeal more to the common sense good of some things. And I know they do, but they do it. They need to be better at hooking a certain amount. I mean, there's no reason why the Senate can't have 10 right Democrats vote for
Right.
looking for these trafficked kids, or looking,
Well,
doing what's mutually
yeah.
beneficial. And I think that, right, we've rammed, President Trump's won. He's set the course and done all those things and been aggressive about it. But at some time, you still need a little kumbaya to keep the momentum going.
Well, and it seems to me, and I didn't pay a lot of attention to politics early in my life, and so I mean, I paid attention to some degree, but not like I am now. And but I still seem to remember that there were bipartisan votes, real bipartisan votes, where, some of the Democrats went over and some of the Republicans went over. It doesn't seem like that happens much anymore, except with a lot of coercion, and maybe it was there then too. I don't know. I haven't been involved enough to know.
Well, I think people used to have strength in standing behind things they believed in, and you just don't. It's like everyone, and I'm going to paint them all with this brush, though some of them likely don't deserve it, but most do. I mean, they spend 99% of their time fundraising for their next election.
Right. Well, especially Congress, because it's every 2 years.
Not solving the challenges
Yeah.
of Americans. I mean, that's the joy of our current president is, I believe, I think he's going to put in, 4 years of strong energy and everything he's got. And I think he's showing Biden what energy is, right? It's the contrast between the two individuals is so ridiculous. But
well, I can't believe that these journalists are really writing books about Biden as if they didn't know, right? I just can't believe they're doing it.
It's all, I'm guessing, just money, right?
Well, sure. Yeah, they got some kind of contract. Somebody paid them to write the book. I don't know. It just shows how fake everything is. Well, you talk about fake news, it's fake everything. Well, everything's fake.
Start going in and we go to this where there's smoke, there's fire, and start talking about Chinese payments and Chinese money. It ties in with JJ's 100,000, right? Chinese soldiers coming.
Yeah.
Through.
That's frightening.
Right. But I'm not a rocket scientist putting it together, right? Surely others can put one and one together.
You think? Think it makes two? I don't know. I got another story for you here, though. Let me you probably heard about it. Good old Klaus Schwab. Did you hear that when he resigned, it was because of misconduct coming from a whistleblower's letter? Did you hear about that? That was very interesting.
So I don't know much about it, but I did see the headline.
Well, don't just read the headlines, right?
I know. But, right. If I'm reading Apple News, though, I don't have a subscription, so all I can read is this.
Oh, my goodness. And I have all sorts of things coming up on my screen here to block me, right? I don't want to agree. Okay, we're going to go away from that, see what I can find. I'll stop sharing that because that obviously didn't work.
You out already.
They did, didn't they? Let's try this one. Maybe this one will work. I'll try sharing this screen instead. I've got Klaus Schwab officially resigns as World Economic Forum. Oh, they probably aren't going to talk about his misdeeds, right? I had to find the right word.
Right. No, they just call them misdeeds. They don't say he has a sex slave farm or whatever it is.
Yeah, the WEF announced this in a press release on Monday, adding that the 88-year-old did not provide any further details. Well, we found out the details later. This was, what day was this? I hate the internet for the fact that it doesn't tell you the date.
They don't give you any information.
No date. Here we go. 1 week ago. Well, okay. Story by Don Silas, but that's not telling us anything about why he did that, right? I want the one that says
that's a whole right. Talk about your shadow government and the World Economic Forum. That's just full of those kind of folks.
It's true. Let's see if I can get this one to work. Boy, they just advertise. Klaus Schwab, founder of the World Economic Forum, stepped down. We know that much. Days before damaging whistleblower allegations triggered an emergency investigation by the organization's board. This is, what is it? The fox guarding the hen house, right?
Every one of them. How much money do you take?
Yeah, an anonymous letter publicized on Wednesday lists several claims from current and former employees accusing Schwab of manipulating research, misusing funds, and creating a toxic workplace culture. Now, this man is 80. Well, they said 88 in the last article. This one says 87. 87 years old, been doing this for a lot of years. And just now somebody's figuring out that he was manipulative and misused funds and created a toxic workplace. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh,
you know, like you said, should be on your section. You can't believe it's true, or what?
right. Yeah. No, you can't make this stuff up.
That's right.
That's a Doug section.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
this is definitely in that.
And of course, we have to say, Klaus Schwab has denied any wrongdoing, insisting the changes were part of routine academic refinement.
Don't
So,
you? Well, it's in that academic thing. I think it's increasingly fascinating to watch the president's office, and you know, a couple of things that irk me a lot. They talk about the president acting without authority, blah blah blah.
right,
There's
right, right.
courts, there's Congress. Well, the Constitution, he is 1/3 of the government. He is 1/3
Yeah,
of the rulemaking. He ought to have his nose in that stuff,
you would
right? And
think. You
just
would
because
think.
past presidents didn't, just meant they were idiots.
Yeah, but Biden did plenty of his own stuff, and nobody bashed him the way that they do Trump, and that's just the standard,
Well, I
that.
just think that no one, I mean,
And
everything he,
so did Obama. I mean, remember Obama? I have my pen and my phone. I mean, come on, really?
well,
Wow.
as President Trump said, right? I mean, best I know, Russia took Crimea and nobody said anything or cared,
Yeah, I know.
right? I mean, it's
Yeah, it's
true.
true.
It's true.
Yep,
And it again, sad for those folks.
it is. Yeah. It says the whistleblower letter mentions some issues in the West's workplace culture under Schwab's leadership. It referenced instances of unchecked sexual harassment. Well, but that's not, that can be anything, right? And discriminatory, that could be a bad joke. I've heard people call bad jokes sexual harassment and discriminatory behavior. And I'm not trying to defend the dude, I'm just trying to be like fair. All previously reported by the Wall Street Journal. We feel compelled to share a comprehensive account of systemic governance failures and abuses of power that have taken place over many years. Well, they waited until he resigned to talk about it.
Well, someone working with someone who's older and being with, you know, there's a point where maybe his, you know, he had skeletons in his closet like all of them do, and he had diminishing capacity. I mean, those guys, these folks, it's their whole goal is to take these power administrative jobs where they can hide and manipulate folks and manipulate the world. And they don't step down without cause because they're just power hungry.
Yeah. You know, when JJ was talking about the fact that these guys were laughing at him, it reminded me of when the mortgage crisis happened and all these banks were laughing at the people that were calling in and saying, hey, we need some help.
Yep.
And it was the same type of arrogance and the same kind of attitude. And it burns. It really burns to think about that, because you know how a person feels when that happens. It's not good.
Yeah.
It stinks. It really stinks. So
Well,
I don't know.
again, there's another group, right? You got banks, and
Yeah.
best I know, they're all for global. They're globalists, best I can tell.
Yep. Yep.
And you know, they got their own agenda and things. They've been allowed to run amok. Like I said, the same as schools, and they're
Yeah.
both challenging the presidency. They both are. It's
Yep.
ridiculous because they thought they could rise up and be more important than the president. And best I know, our past presidents have usurped that in a certain amount of ways, and they didn't see the buildup of either. I mean, the Ivy League schools, what they're talking is ridiculous. I mean, it's hard for me to believe they're on U.S. soil.
Yeah, I know. Well, I thought I would remind everybody as you're browsing through on Substack that we do have a link to our mugs, our Freedom Mugs, Freedom Series. So check that out and go take a look and maybe get yourself one. They have different sayings on them, and they're quite unique. And they say what's the story on them too. So we just
love
share
'em.
that with you. I do too. I like them a lot. So check that out, and be sure to check us out every week on Tuesdays. And we also air between 7 and 9 on 93.7 FM in Reno, Nevada. So lots of ways you can listen to us. You can listen to replays on the Rumble channel as well as YouTube, and of course Facebook. Facebook likes to suppress a lot, but you can, if you try, you can find us. I know I've had people tell me they have a tough time finding us. So hopefully you'll be able to find our show somewhere. And we will be on Rumble. We will be switching that channel. I have a new channel that will be the LRP network. And we're going to host a number of different shows. I can't wait to launch that and let everybody know about it. It's going to be lots of fun.
Awesome.
Yeah, it is. So, and you're out there in Ohio getting ready to come back to Reno here pretty soon.
I'm flying
Couple
back
weeks.
in a couple of weeks to get my
Yeah.
car and get some things and drive back this way. It's a bit of a surreal feeling.
I'll bet it is. I'll bet it is. How long are you going to stay? You going to stay for a while, or are you just going to
I'll
jet
be-
in and jet out?
I'll probably be there 3-4 days.
Oh, nice. Very nice.
And, and then it'll probably take me 3 days to get back.
Yeah. Well, that's what retirement is like, right?
Well, that's my vacation, driving across country.
Yeah.
I got to take the breaks when I can get them. So I'm kind of looking forward to the solitude.
Yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be fun. All right. Well, hi to your mom. And I guess we'll see everybody next week. I don't know who our guest is yet, but I'll certainly let you know as soon as I do.
Awesome. Well,
All right.
anyway, great show, Jan, and thank you very much.
Yes. Thank you. And see everybody the next time around.
Yeah, have a great week, everyone.
Yep.